Hi, my name is Sarah Mayo. I'm a peer review operations manager here at PLOS, and I am going to walk you through Editorial Manager and a couple of the tools that you will be using as a section editor for a PLOS journal. Anytime you are assigned to a new manuscript, you will receive an email notification alerting you to the fact that the manuscript has come in, and it'll provide some basic details like the title, the authors, and the abstract. There will also be a link through which you can click and go directly to the submission within Editorial Manager, or you can log in directly to your editor account on Editorial Manager, and you will be able to see all of the submissions for which you are currently responsible here in your editor to-do list. New manuscripts will be in this folder called New Assignments. And when you click into it, this is the submission record that you will see, which includes, again, those basic details, the manuscript number, what kind of article it is, the section category to which it's been submitted, title, author name, the date upon which it was submitted, and the date of its most recent action. I'm going to take you next through the details menu, which kind of expands on this metadata and provides some other details. For example, on the details menu, in addition to the full title, you will see a short title, as well as classifications. These are selected from a database of taxonomical options that PLOS has prepared for each journal. So the authors can just click the classification that best matches their manuscript, and that will appear here. They can also select keywords. These are not tied to any particular taxonomy or database. They are chosen by the authors. There's this box called Information for Editor. This is where journal office employees will put any contextual details that might be useful for you to know about the manuscript, anything that might require special handling, any specific requests we may have received from the authors, or things that are of note that you might want to take into consideration when evaluating the manuscript. So we do recommend checking this box, even though for many submissions, there may not be anything here, just in case. You'll be able to find the abstract in full, the author list. There's also a link here to the file inventory if you'd like to look at the individual files that the authors have provided. They should have at least a cover letter and a manuscript. They may have also provided figures and supporting information files. All of these will be automatically incorporated into the compiled submission PDF that we'll look at in just a minute. A couple of other things that you can see here are suggested reviewers and opposed reviewers. These are input by the authors, so the authors may have reviewers that they recommend based on their expertise being a good fit for the manuscript topic. They also have the option to list reviewers that they believe would not be a good fit to evaluate the manuscript because of a conflict of interest or another reason, and those will be listed in the details menu as well. Under the additional information section, there are a lot of other answers to questions that the authors will have addressed in their submission form. One of the ones that may be of interest to you as a section editor is about data availability. PLOS has quite a strict data availability policy. We require that authors provide the minimal data set required for reproducing the study. So we do try to make sure that authors have indicated that their data is available. If it is not, we will work with the authors separately to make sure that that data is in place for the purposes of review and for publication. So that's the details menu in brief. When you look at the submission itself by clicking View Submission, which will download the compiled submission PDF, you will also see a lot of these details included directly in the PDF. So it will take you through all of those basic metadata details, as well as some of those submission form responses before you should be able to see a cover letter, a manuscript file. Figures, if they have included any, will be at the end of the manuscript file often as a separate image. And if the quality of the image seems to be at a lower resolution, this is probably due to compression from the submission file. You can download the high resolution original version of any of these figures by clicking on this link in the top right-hand corner of this page. This is an image of my cat. And for supporting information files, they will also be included at the end of the submission PDF and will only be visible through direct download. So you will need to click this link labeled supporting information in order to download and open any supporting information files, which may include things like additional data, visualizations, tables, etc. So once you've evaluated the manuscript, looked through the submission, the abstract, all of the details you have available to you, if you believe that the manuscript is suitable to move forward with consideration, the next step that you will take as a section editor is to secure an academic editor. You will be able to see the academic editors listed on the editorial board site for your particular journal. So for example, for PLOS pathogens, you can see the editors-in-chief, all other section editors, and all academic editors who each have their own expertise listed on the website. So this is a great resource for looking for people who will be a good match for handling an individual paper. When it's time to assign an editor, you will click the Assign Editor link, and then you'll be prompted to search using any of a variety of criteria. You can search for a particular editor by their name, by their editor role. So for example, you could search all academic editors at one time. If you were to do this, what will happen is that it pulls up all of the relevant academic editors available. Since this is a test site, the actual academic editors for PLOS pathogens are not going to be listed here. But if they were, they would appear in this list, and it would show you a couple of different things to take into consideration before inviting an academic editor to handle the manuscript. The first is classification matches. As I noted, the authors select classifications for their manuscript at initial submission, and editors also oftentimes have personal classifications that they have selected to represent their particular expertise. And classification matches measures how many matches there are between the classifications selected by the authors and the classifications in the editor's personal profile. So that's one way of kind of matching the editor to the submission. You'll also be able to see if they're currently handling any other assignments. We typically expect academic editors to handle no more than 1 to 2 papers at a time. So if they already have a handful of assignments, they may not be the best person to invite at that moment. This will also show if they have any open invitations. So they've been invited to handle a manuscript, but they haven't accepted yet. And finally, whether or not they are available within the next 7 days. Usually, if somebody has indicated they're not available, it will have a date range for the time for which they will not be able to handle manuscripts. And we do ask that you please respect those unavailability dates and do not invite someone if they've indicated that they're not available within at least the next 7 days. Once you have decided on which editors you would like to invite, you'll simply click the Select option next to their name and click Add to Queue. If there were more than one academic editor here, there would be an invitation order, which might say 1, 2, 3 for different candidates. What this means is that when you invite the editors, usually the first 1 to 3 options, depending on the journal, will automatically receive an invitation. If you invite multiple editors, more than 3 or so, the editorial manager system will only send invites to those first 1 to 3. And then after about 48 hours or so, it will send an invitation to whoever is next in the list. And then after another 48 hours, to the next person in the list, and so on. So invitations go out on a kind of graduated schedule in the editorial manager system. One feature that you may want to use is the Customize Letters and Submit Queue feature. This allows you to customize the invitation letter that you will be sending to the academic editor. It uses a template that's already in place and that will pull in the basic details about the manuscript, including an abstract. But you can also edit this text as much as you would like, save it, and then you can click Confirm Selections and Submit Queue. Or if you do not need to customize the letter, sorry, let me research for the academic editor. Then you can simply click Submit Queue without customizing letters. We do recommend inviting anywhere between 3 to 6 academic editors at a time, just because people are busy. Sometimes it can take a little while to find someone who has the capacity to handle a manuscript. So the more invitations you can send out, as long as those invitations are appropriate and targeted at the editor's expertise, oftentimes the better odds you will have of quickly securing an academic editor. You'll notice that the status of the manuscript has now updated to editor invited. And when you return to your main menu, you will still have something in this new assignments folder. The new assignments folder encompasses everything that is not yet with an academic editor for handling and has not had review initiated. So even though you have invited an editor for that submission, it is still considered new by editorial managers' standards. However, the same submission has also now been copied into the next folder, editors invited, none yet assigned. This folder includes any manuscripts, as it says, for which editor invitations have been sent, but no invited academic editors have agreed to handle a manuscript yet. When you click on any manuscript in this menu, you will be able to see when the first academic editor invitation was sent, when the most recent one was sent, how many invitations are open, declined, or expired, and how many are left in the queue that haven't received invitations yet, but that are on that automated schedule that editorial manager uses. In terms of invitation status, of course, if it's an open invitation, the academic editor recipient hasn't yet agreed, but they haven't taken any other action yet either. In addition to accepting, they can, of course, decline, and we usually ask that if they do so, they provide a brief reason for not handling the manuscript at this time. And they can also be uninvited. If we don't receive a response from an invited academic editor within approximately a week, their invitation will automatically expire. This is part of what triggers the editorial manager system to then send an invitation to the next person in line. One thing that I would like to mention is that in addition to the academic editors that you have access to via the editorial board, you can also ask for a guest editor to be invited. These are scholars in the field whose research is a particularly good match for the manuscript. If you're having difficulty finding someone on the editorial board, if you would like to ask that a guest editor be invited, you'll just need to contact the journal office so that we can add guest editor permissions to that person's editorial manager profile, and this will make them invitable in the system. In order to reach out to the journal office for this purpose, or if you need assistance of any kind during the handling process, you can use the send email function. There are a range of templates that you can choose from, and the most appropriate for this purpose would likely be editor query to journal office. When you go to customize that letter, it will already have the journal's email address plugged in. There will be space where you can edit the letter and say what you would like. If you are asking that we recruit somebody as a guest editor or invite them to work with this manuscript, we'll just need a name and an email address for that person in particular. And then the journal office will be able to add that person to the editor invitation list on your behalf. So that can be quite useful in cases where you're just not quite finding the academic editor that you need to handle a submission. And next, in the follow-up session, we'll look at how to invite reviewers in instances in which you actually need to do that. If you're unable to secure an academic editor, or if an academic editor who has agreed at one point during the peer review process becomes unavailable or is out of office, and you need to take on responsibility for inviting reviewers yourself. And I will see you in that tutorial.